Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPen.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton. Episode 119 is live ahead of UFC Vegas 71. First up, we're going to be joined by Rani Yahya to preview his fight against Montel Jackson. Obviously, Honey had a tough couple months, I guess. Hasn't fought since November 2021. Since then, 2022, he was booked twice against Cody Garbrandt. Both times he had injuries that just couldn't allow him to take the fight, which he's really disappointed for. And then obviously he doesn't get that Garbrandt fight in his return, which he's a bit disappointed, but he knows it's a big fight against Montel Jackson. He knows not a lot of guys want to fight Montel Jackson, but he thinks he has all the tools that he can go out there and submit him and really put on a good performance and secure that Cody Garbrandt fight next. And then our final two guests are actually fighting each other in Ricky Glenn and Christos Giagos. A really good chat with both these guys. Both Ricky's coming off that draw against Grant Dawson in October 2021. He's been dealing with some injuries. He was supposed to fight Drew Dober last March in 2022, which he knew was a big opportunity. He unfortunately suffered an injury that's kept out for a long time, and here he is finally returning against Giagos, who is coming off the two straight losses to Arman Tsarukyan and Thiago Santos. He's supposed to fight Benoit Saint-Denis in Paris. He ends up having cutting his finger open when he was moving a toilet after renovating his bathroom. So it was a very kind of odd injury, but he kind of knows this could be do or die for him. He says he was offered a couple short notice fights, but he really wanted to make sure he got the right camp in, especially if they're losing two in a row. Although he lost two tough guys, he thinks he knows he could be fighting for his job, and he thinks Ricky Glenn is going to bring it, and he's really looking forward to this matchup. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're jumping UFC bantamweight Rani Yahya. Rani, how's it going, man?
I'm going good. What about you?
I'm doing well. Like, obviously, returning April 22nd against Montel Jackson. Like, how kind of excited are you that it's getting pretty close to fight time over after what kind of the past year has been like?
Yeah, very, very excited. It's been a while since the last time I was in the octagon. And I can't wait to do this. Very happy to be returning to fight, especially in Vegas and the Apex. I really like there. So I'm excited.
Were you surprised they didn't try to rebook that Cody fight for the third time?
A little bit, a little bit. But the thing is that I believe he was training, so at that point he needed to move on because I didn't know when I was going to come back because I was treating my neck. I had to stop and treat, so I don't think they were gonna wait for me because he was probably training and doing his thing.
When were you kind of fully cleared to start training again?
In January.
Yeah. Were you disappointed? Like, how kind of disappointing was it to lose that Cody fight? Like, obviously a former champion, a big name. Like, that probably would have been one of the biggest fights of your career so far.
Bro, I thought a lot about that, but the last time we had a fight scheduled, I did everything I had to do, to make that fight happen. And I had the injury, I got me frustrated for a little bit. It was something that I really had to stop and treat. I went through a lot of pain. My life, my daily life was at that point wasn't like I didn't have like I was so much pain that I just wanted to get out of the pain. I didn't even think about Cody anymore at that point. So I got frustrated. I was expecting to fight him, but I'm pretty sure this fight gonna happen sometime.
How familiar were you with Montel Jackson when you got offered him?
I watched a few fights of him. I watched before. I watched him against Rick Simon, against Brian Kelly, and I think against the Brazilian guy Felipe. And I noticed that he's taller, southpaw. You know, that's why I think people uh, miss a little bit when they're gonna fight against a taller guy, which long reach like he has, and a southpaw, you know. But this will be no issue for me because you can see the last guys that I faced that were southpaw. I not only beat them, but I also finished them. So I know how to play against southpaw. I prefer. I like.
Obviously, you are one of the best grapplers in the division. Like, how important do you think the wrestling will be in this fight to get this one down to the ground?
Oh yeah, wrestling is always very important. You know, every fight. And this one, I believe will be even more important. You know, because people gonna fight me. They start to train, take down the fence, getting up from the bottom. You know, countering with uppercut, with knees, and I know that. So I prepare myself very much to these situations. You know.
With this one, like, how do you kind of see it playing out then?
Uh, I believe I'm gonna finish him. Okay, I believe I'm getting ready for a battle, for a war, a 3 round fight, 3 round war. But I can see myself finishing him.
How often do you look at like the Ricky fights and the Brett fights, how they were kind of able to control him on the ground? To like, how much do you look at those, kind of see how they had
Yeah,
success?
I watch uh, Rick fight a couple times and Brett one time. You know, and I noticed very few things that only he can do. You know, like wrist control. He got very good wrist control. Got a weird style, you know, because he's so tall and he has those big hands. But I watched and I saw some openings, you know, watching those fights, you know, that I want to explore those openings, of course.
With Montel, like obviously he has never been finished. So like, say you do it there, be the first one to finish him. Like, where do you think that? Like, what do you think that does for you in this division?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty big because he's a guy that not many people want to fight, you know, because of this thing, you know, he has the knockdown record like in 5 fights, and and people are worried about that. So I think we'll in a very good spot because many people in this division, many good people, high ranked people, don't want to fight.
And then this will be your 20th UFC fight. Like, what's that like for you to get to 20 UFC fights in your career?
Amazing, man. You know, sometimes I can't even believe that I'm at that point, you know, and it means a lot, you know, it means history in, inside that octagon, many hours there. Great experience. I feel that I've been through so many things, you know. I can't say that I've been through everything because that octagon always uh, surprise me or any other fight with new new things, you know, unexpected things like striking or cardio or how you feel inside there, you know, like exhaustion. But there's always a new thing going on there. But one thing that I have now that I didn't have a few years ago that took me a while to get to that point is to know how to control myself, you know, to know how to be very calm there, you know, to know when the adrenaline is coming, how to deal with it. I think all the experience is, uh, made me made me strong on that situation. So it comes all natural for me.
And then after Cody's win against Trevin Jones, he said if you get past Montel, he wants to get that rebooked for later this year. Like, is that the fight you think would be next if you beat Montel?
Yes, definitely. I believe so. Yes.
What did you make of Cody's win over Trevin?
I think he was too worried about getting punched and get knocked down. I think he didn't loosen up too much in that fight. Uh, and Travis, of course, also didn't have a game plan for the fight, because one time he was trying to take him down, other time he was trying to strike, and then his cornerman said, "Don't try to take him down." And then the last round he took him down. It just made me think, if I get one of that position that Trevin got in the third round, for me it would be a great position to be in a fight.
Just two more things. Like, what is kind of the goal then for you this year?
Uh, I don't think about the whole year. My only goal now is April 22nd against Michael Jackson, is to beat him and finish him. That's the only goal I have. Of course, there's a lot of talk about Cody. I believe this fight needs to happen, and sometimes it's going to happen. I hope so. But I only focus on April 22nd against Michael Jackson.
And then just final thing, like, this is your 40th career fight. Like, half your fights have been in the UFC, which is pretty crazy. Like 38. Like, have you thought like how much longer you still got? Because you're still fighting at a pretty high level.
Yeah, I flirt with retirement a lot. But the thing is, this is what I really like to do, really enjoy doing, and I feel that I'm getting better, and I feel that I'm progressing. It's like I told you the question before. I feel very calm now. Many times I was in a very good shape. I was young. I was hungry, but I didn't know how to control my emotions way too much. I didn't know how to fight for 3 rounds. So I wasn't. I thought that I was in my best, but I wasn't really. You know. Right now, I have to admit that doing training camps is not the same when I was 28, for example, 10 years ago. You know, it's different, but I'm adapting. Right now, when I have one quality training session a day. I don't care about going to the gym 3 times a day like I used to go before. But guess what? Like 10 years ago, I had many fights that I was overtrained, and I didn't even know that. I thought I was doing the right thing. Today, I go to the gym. I have one quality training session. I do a very good warm up, a very good post training workout as well, like to stretch, and that's it for me. And that's a huge relief of tension, of pressure for me. So I'm adapting to the situations, and I feel that I'm much better than I was before, because I feel that I know how to use all the experience I got.
Well, honey, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Cole. Appreciate it.
All right, we're jumping to see lightweight Ricky Glenn, who's back in action on April 22nd. Ricky, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, obviously you're supposed to fight last March against Drew Dober. Injury kind of takes you out of that one. Like, when were you kind of fully able to get back training and ready to take a fight?
It took about 6 months since the injury, and I got injured. I think it was about 2 weeks before my bout with Dober, and I completely tore a tendon that attaches to my groin training. So I think it was a nagging injury that I didn't realize that was partially torn tendon, and then it snapped in training.
How kind of frustrating was that? Because obviously Dober, that was a big fight for you, fighting a guy like Drew.
Yeah, super big opportunity, and I was well prepared besides getting injured. So that was a big bummer, and I knew it set me back almost a year, and so it's been just over a year since I was supposed to last fight. So the layoff, and I felt like I was gonna get some momentum behind me with a win over someone like Drew Dober, and so just a little setback. So I'm obviously really excited to get this fight on, and prepared. I prepared really hard for it and was a little smarter with my recovery stuff and more mindful of my body and little tweaks and things.
Once you were ready to return, like, were you surprised it was Christos Giagos? Like, or did you not really know who you'd be getting?
Yeah, I didn't know who I'd be getting, honestly, and it didn't matter because I was out for a year. I figured they'd give me someone like kind of close to top 15 because that's where my last opponent is now. Well, my last two opponents are like top 15 now. So I figured they'd give me something close to that, but I've been out for a little bit, and but Christo, he's been up there for a little bit and kind of back and forth and fought some big names as well. So I'm not surprised with the matchup. I think it's a good matchup, and I'm really excited.
What have you made of his run in the UFC? Because like it's super weird. Because like he beats the guys he should be beating, and then they just kind of throw him into the deep end against these like really top 10, like top 15 guys. Like, and then he could obviously lose those like on 2-fight losing streak, but lost to Armin and Tiago, were top 15 guys.
Yeah, I think with his experience, they're going to throw him in there with some top guys because he has a lot of fights and he's been fighting for a while. I think is this his second run in the UFC? Maybe.
Yeah.
I think they let him. Okay, they let him go, and then he came back. So that's a pretty cool accomplishment to be gone and then come back and kind of back and forth. And I know he switched camps, and I've switched camps in the past. And I know I think one of his fights is right after he switched camps and maybe didn't get adjusted right or something. But I know he's coming out of a good camp, and at this level, I say it all the time, like I dedicate my life to this, but these guys should be doing the same, and I imagine he is, and he's going to be going in there just the same as me, trying to kill and not be killed. So it's all about, I think, we just got to be well-rounded, and when I want to climb to the top, I got to be not only well-rounded and want it, take care of my body, and not deal with all these injuries I've had in the past.
And then he's just on a 2-fight losing streak, like could be fighting for his job. So do you just think that makes him even like that much more dangerous in this one?
Sure. Sorry, you kind of cut out a little bit there.
I was just saying, like, he was on a 2-fight losing streak. Like, do you think that makes him that much more dangerous because he could be fighting for his job here?
For sure. I mean, I have a lot of pressure on me when I just lose the one fight. They can cut us at any time they want. So we got to be not only be exciting, but not lose multiple fights. So yeah, I imagine he's hungry and he needs, he's fighting. So yeah, I'm just got to be sharp right off the bat and be prepared for him to come in hard and throw his overhands into his takedowns and kind of this typical stuff and to watch out for. We've game planned pretty well, and I know there's certain things I've done in the past that I imagine he's looking at trying to do. Maybe take me down, hold me down, and try to take my back and stuff like that.
And then just fighting at the Apex too, like, was that disappointing for you? As like after so long, you're still back at the Apex?
It's all right. There's a lot more of an intimate feeling at the Apex. You can hear a pin drop. The crowd. There was I think like 100 people at the last fight. But still, it's not the same as fighting in a big arena. But I go back and forth where I do enjoy it, but one of these days it would be nice to fight at a sold out arena.
How do you think you match up against him? Because like Giagos is a pretty well rounded guy.
Yeah, I think he's well rounded. Experience. We have about the same amount of fights. He's fought some high level guys. I fought high level guys. I think obviously it's a great matchup. He's going to bring it. I think he's going to try to pressure me hard up against the cage, take me down, try to hold me down. Kind of similar to what Grant did the first and part of the second round. Take me down, hold me. Obviously, he's a good back taker. He wants to try to get on my back and find some chokes and stuff. But I think I match up well with him. He wants to come forward, so I don't think he's going to be running anywhere. But I enjoy that. He's going to bring it.
Obviously not a huge long of a layoff, but I think it is like a year and a half, something like that. But you had the longer one. You came back and knocked out Sullivan like 30-something seconds. So are you not too concerned about ring rust in the layoff then?
No, I'm not concerned about the ring rust. It's because I train so hard and I'm consistent with my training. Obviously, it's different than training, but and I'm visualizing a lot. When I am injured, I'm doing what I can, riding the bike, visualizing, meditating, working the bag, doing everything I can, working around some of these injuries that I've had. But I don't think the ring rust is going to be there.
How do you kind of see it playing out then?
Oh, man. I think, the first thing that goes through my head, it's like bad scenario stuff. Like maybe he clips me with an overhand right and takes me down and I got to work off my back and, kind of come back from that. But I plan on, I obviously don't plan on that happening, but I think if he comes in at me hard like he has in all of his other fights, I'm going to finish him. Striking. If he wants to grapple, I'm going to get him. I'm going to finish him on the ground.
What do you think a win does for you? Because after they obviously are pretty high on you, they were giving you Drew Dober, they gave you Grant Dawson, they're giving you these guys right near the top 15s. What do you think a win, especially if you go out there and finish them, does for you?
Oh man, I think it puts me right back up there, fighting a top 15 guy. Obviously I don't want to look. I'm not looking past Christo, but man, a win over him, I'm right back up. I'm right back up in there fighting some top 15 people.
What is kind of the goal then for you this year?
I'd like to fight that 3 times. So I was hoping to get a fight a lot sooner than this. But I actually I dislocated my thumb. And then, so I told my managers, push me back a couple weeks. And then I got staph right before the first time ever getting staph right before getting this offer, this fight matched up. I had staph. So I had a delay a short notice fight I could have had, and I was ready to go too, but I still had this staph what was it, on my face right here and behind my ear, and it's painful. And so I would have went into fight week still with staph, so they wouldn't declare me to fight. The first time ever getting that. But I think after this fight I should be able to get 2 more fights in, so 3 fights this year would be nice. That's the goal.
And then these injuries, they seem kind of fluky. Is that what's more frustrating part? It's just some odd random injuries. It's not something you did or did too hard or something.
Oh, for sure. Friggin', especially when I tore that tendon in my groin, I'm feeling great, big opportunity. And then it's you're done. You're off. It completely snapped off my pelvis bone, is the tendon that attaches your pelvis bone from your adductor muscle. And so that's probably the worst injury I ever had. And it was just it just halted my career essentially.
And then do you ever think about getting that Grant Dawson fight back? I think when we talked after, you said you wanted it back. I know he wasn't too much in it. Do you think that's a fight that is going to happen again in the future?
I think so. I think if, I continue climbing up the ranks, and if he's up there in the top 15, I'd like to meet him, or top 10, depending on wherever he's at. I've seen he's done well since we fought, and I just need to get the job done April 22nd, and just take that momentum into the rest of the year and see where it takes me. And I imagine we are going to meet again someday.
And just final thing, next fight though has to be in front of fans for you.
In front of fans? What's that?
Yeah, next fight for you should be in front of fans.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Well, this one I have a couple people from Marshalltown, Iowa coming. So you'll hear some Marshalltown, Iowa fans there, and they're gonna be pretty rowdy and loud. So tune in April 22nd, guys, and you're gonna hear how M-Town gets down.
Well, Ricky, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Thanks, Cole. Appreciate you guys.
All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight Christos Giagos, who's finally back in action on April 22nd. Christos, how's it going, man?
It's going good. You know what I mean? Training camp's been going good, and I've been feeling good, and yeah, really good.
Obviously, you're supposed to fight last September against Benoit Saint Denis. You had that injury. Like, when did you kind of fully get healthy and able to start training again?
What's funny is after the stitches came out and I was able to make a fist, it was still sore, but I started training a little too early. But what I did was I had like a ball, and I would just wrap my hand with like a hand wrap, and then I would tape it. And I was going to spar. I was sparring one-handed, using this hand to block. I was grappling because as long as it's wrapped up, it was okay. But I didn't feel like healthy, like 100% until about like mid like around Christmas time to December. I was able to hit hard with it and felt good. So I was trying to fight like maybe February, March, but I'll take April.
How frustrating was that injury for people that don't know? Like, you were cleaning from what I remember, and like you cut your finger right open.
So I had just remodeled my bathroom, and the toilet was messed up. So I kind of had the toilet, and it broke because I was like trying to tighten it too much because it just kept leaking, and I ended up cracking it. But anyway, I got a new toilet. I fixed it. We were pretty much done cleaning everything. We had some family come over that weekend, so we want to make sure everything nice and clean before everyone came over. And then I had threw the toilet in like this big like trash can we had, and I was literally on the last thing I had to do. Was I was just cleaning my grill a little bit because it was like kind of messy, a little dirty. So what I was doing, I had like the tray, and I emptied the tray in the trash can. And I went to wipe it down, but I wiped it a little too close to the toilet, and my freaking hand nicked the edge of the toilet, and it just sliced my pinky. And I didn't know porcelain was that sharp, to be honest. But regardless, I felt it, and I was like, uh-oh. I went to the bathroom. I looked at my hand. I just saw like blood squirting out, and I was like, oh no. And I hit an artery. I started freaking out. I went to urgent care. They wouldn't do nothing because they saw the blood squirting out, so they sent me to the hospital. And at first, you like open my they had to put a shot inside of my cut, and that was the worst of it. But they numbed it. She went inside thinking like it was just my skin that flapped open, which would have been nice because I probably would have still tried to fight anyway. But I ended up cutting 2 of my pinky tendons, and yeah, that was all she wrote. And then I had to drop out the fight, and it sucked because I wanted to go to Paris. You know what I mean? My wife was gonna come with me. It was it would have been nice, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I didn't want to like let it dwell on it too much. So just whatever. This is giving me more time to train and get prepared for the next one.
With this one, like once you were healthy, like were you surprised it was Ricky Glenn, like, or did you not really know who you would be fighting?
I didn't know who I was going to be fighting. They actually offered me a short notice fight with Jim Miller, and like I said, I would love to fight Jim Miller. I like that fight, but I wasn't down to do it 2 weeks notice because I'm coming off 2 losses in a row. You know what I mean? I think so even though I fought some top competition to get like try to break the top 15, I wasn't ready for a 2-week notice fight coming off 2 losses. I wanted my next fight to be a nice strong camp, be well prepared, and it didn't really matter who I fought, to be honest. And I thought I'd meet Rick Glenn one day, so here it is. You know what I mean? And I like this fight. I think he's a well-rounded fighter, like I am. But I feel like my last two opponents, I had to like, worry about getting taken down, have that in the back of my head. And I felt like I wasn't able to fight the fight I would like to fight. And with this fight coming up, I feel like I get to fight any way I like to fight. If I want to go take him down, I'll go for a takedown. If I want to keep it striking, I'll keep it striking. You know what I mean? So I feel like I get to go out there and fight the way I want to fight, and I feel like that's when I'm at my best.
What do you take away from your last two fights? Like, obviously, you fought two very tough guys. Like, I think Armin's like a guy that could fight for a title in his future. Like, Thiago's been a top 15, top 10 guys. Like, what do you kind of take away from those fights?
So with the Armin fight, I was doing well. I thought, I defended his takedown. I got on top, you know what I mean? Landed some strikes a little bit. And I threw this kick that I've been practicing and landed it. And when I landed it, I left my head right there. You know what I mean? So what I learned from that fight is, especially in the first round when they're the strongest, the most fresh, I move. If I throw something, be ready to move right after. So I took that away from that. One little slip up cost me the fight, literally. And then with the Thiago fight, when I cracked him early, busted him open. He went for the takedown, defended it. We went against the cage, and while I was on the cage, I had double unders, and I felt like I was pretty safe in that position with double unders, but he did have his arm around one of my legs, but he had my leg, but over both my arms. And cause I was like, he's probably going to let go. And what happened is I waited, and I don't usually do that, but I was chilling there cause I felt like I was safe, and I was just waiting for him to let go so I can bounce out and, strike and, keep it on the feet a little bit. But he didn't let go, and I felt like me waiting too long gave him the opportunity to kind of figure out what he wanted to do with that leg, and which he ended up getting the takedown. And when we did that takedown, I got caught in this weird position, which I gave up my back, and I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. I worked on back defense my whole camp on the ground, and what did I do? I stood up. So when I was against the cage, I was like, oh, I got no leverage here. But I was like, I don't want to go to the ground and give him a better position. So maybe he'll let go. Maybe I'll stay here and defend the choke until I let go. But, with guys like that, you can't wait because they're going to be attacking. He kept, attacking until he got under my neck. So what I took out of that fight was don't wait. Be first, be in control. When I go again, if somebody puts me against the cage again, I'm working to get out. I'm using strength. I'm getting out of there. You know what I mean? And that's what I usually do. So I was just trying to be a little more conservative, patient, try to pick my shots. And I felt great in there. It's just, you can't wait. And I think that's my biggest problem in that fight. I think I just waited a little too much and didn't really get going a little bit. So I took those things away from those fights. And, when you fight at that level, one little mistake can literally cost you the fight. And that's what happened. You know what I mean? It sucks because I've definitely gotten a lot better, and I haven't got to show that yet. And I'm really looking forward to showing that this fight.
With Ricky Glenn, like, he is a guy that doesn't fight very often. Like, he fought in 2018, came back, knocked out Joaquin Silva pretty quick, then made a pretty quick turnaround to have that draw against Grant Dawson. That was in 2021, still hasn't fought. So, like, how hard is it to prepare for a guy like him that, like, takes quite a bit of time off? You don't really know how what he's been doing or if he's been improving.
Well, we had the same management, and I found out that he had a couple injuries. He had a hip surgery at one time, so he had to recover from that. I don't know what happened since then, to be honest, but I just assume they're injuries. I don't think he's good, so I don't think he's taking off to get better, to be honest. But I mean, I'm sure he has gotten better. Don't get me wrong. With time, you're going to get better. But it could have been injuries. But at the end of the day, I try not to think about it too much. I feel like I'm expecting the best Rick Glenn in there. And I like this opportunity. I like this fight because, he's not a jiu-jitsu specialist. He got good jiu-jitsu. He's decent. But, he's not bad on the ground. He has decent wrestling, good striking. I feel like I'm well-rounded just like that. So I don't got to worry about him trying to take me down or maybe he might try, who knows, but I don't got to be scared to take him down or anything like that. I get to fight my fight the way I want to fight it, and I feel like that's when I'm at my best.
How do you think you match up against Ricky? Just because, like, this is to me, like, I think this should be a pretty fun fight because I think both of you guys will probably want to keep it standing.
I mean, I'm gonna fight my fight. I like to wrestle. You know what I mean? I like to wrestle, but I don't like to wrestle when I gotta go with good black belts. You know what I mean? Because I like to try to take the fight where they're at their worst. You know what I mean? And so I feel like Ricky off his back isn't the best. He got a couple, maybe he's long, he's taller. He might have some triangles and stuff like that. I'll be cautious of. But if I feel like the opportunity is there, I'm gonna take him down and score some points. But I'm not going to be desperate to keep him there. And I just want to keep him guessing as well. Maybe I go for a shot. I don't take him down. But now he's going to be having to think of me trying to take him down. So maybe that's going to stop him from coming forward. You know what I mean? So I just feel like I'm going to mix it up. But, yeah, I do want to strike. I want to try to get a knockout. But I'm going to take it wherever I can. Wherever I see the opportunities, I'm going to take every opportunity I can in this fight.
I know it's been a bit for you now going down to Florida. It's like, how much better do you think you have gotten? Like, what has it been? Like 2 years of trying to think, a year and a half, something like that?
It's almost 2 years. In July, it'll be 2 years. And I definitely have grown a lot because when I first got there, man, I was getting my ass kicked, bro. And it took a little bit of adapting. There's no easy goes. Everybody you go with is high level, is good. And even the younger guys, like, they're tough, man. Nobody shies away. It's hard to break people, which is nice. And it definitely improved my cardio, my body, muscle endurance. So, and there's guys that, were kicking my ass in the beginning where I do fairly well now. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm one of the topper guys in the gym now, doing really, really well. One of the high level guys at the gym. So, and now where I see myself, like when I train with some of the high level guys, is I do really, really well. And I'm just really proud at how much I've seen growth in myself thus far. So yeah, it's been a blessing since I've been there for sure. And it just sucks because I haven't got to show the world yet, coming off 2 first round finishes, getting finished in my last 2 fights. So they haven't really got to see what I'm able to do yet, but I'm excited to showcase it this fight.
Being the betting underdog against Ricky, does that surprise you?
Not really. I feel like I'm on the underdog a lot of times, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm coming off 2 losses in a row. He had a draw with Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson's a high level guy. I feel like it was only a draw because Grant Dawson gassed out a little bit, and Ricky has good cardio, and he was able to score some big shots in the 3rd round while Grant gassed out a little bit. But he got control of those 2 rounds, and yeah, it doesn't faze me being an underdog.
Do you think like you could be fighting for your job here? Like, I know you never want to lose 3 in a row. I don't think you'd be kind of like, you are a pretty fan friendly guy and like fighting the level competition you have been. But like, is that something in the back of your mind where like you could be fighting for your job?
Absolutely, it's always in the back of my mind. You know what I mean? This is my first time in the UFC ever losing 2 in a row. 2nd time in my career losing 2 in a row. I've never lost 3 in a row, so it's in the back of my mind. But like I said, I'm gonna go out there and fight like I'm fighting for my job for sure. You know what I mean? This is do or die for me. I feel like it can be, and I'm going out there trying to make a statement because, like I said, I've never lost 3 in a row, and I don't plan on doing that now.
How do you kind of see it playing out then?
I see it playing out well. I feel like it's going to be a war, back and forth. I'm not counting him out. I know he's a good fighter, but I feel like this type of fight can be a fight of the night type of fight. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to shy away. And I feel like the hungrier fighter is going to come after and get the win at the end of the day. So can I finish him? I think I can. Will I finish him? I don't know. I see it going to a decision. I'm preparing for a war. But I'm definitely going to go out there and try to finish this guy.
Just 2 more things. A bit disappointed just at the Apex, your return fight.
Yeah, it's my 3rd fight in a row at the Apex. The last time I had a crowd, I got the bonus, and I think I fight better with the crowd. But it is what it is. I don't get to pick and choose, so I'm gonna go out there and at least the Apex has a little bit of a crowd now, so I'll feed off of the energy I can and just try to show everybody what I can do.
Just final thing, like you get past Ricky, like what is kind of the goal then for you this year?
Just keep winning fights. That's all. I don't, I've never been the type of guy, like, obviously I train hard and I always want to win, but I just want to have a nice long career with the UFC. As long as my body will let me do it. But like I said, I got to be winning fights to do that. But, this is my 12th fight with the UFC, my 30th fight overall. as long as I have a great fight, win or lose, I think I might be able to get one more, like to fight out my contract at least. But I feel like this is the type of fight that's going to be the fight of the night, in my opinion. So if I get that bonus, I'm good with the win or a loss, to be honest. I just want to go out there and show the world what I can do, and that these last 2 fights is just a fluke. That's it. And like I said, I've been adapting to the new gym, the move to Florida. The first fight with the Armin, I took that fight literally on my way moving to Florida. So probably rushed into it a little bit, but it is what it is. I don't like to say no. I like to show everybody that I'm a Spartan. I'm down to fight anybody, So, yeah.
Well, Christos, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
No worries. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.